Good morning. I thank those of you who are here. We thank you. We thank you thus far for even continuing to just report what is news. This is a tragic situation. It is news, and it's newsworthy. We've got two individuals, 15 years old, 13 years old. We've got two individuals who were walking, talking, laughing. Two individuals who are nothing more than kids. Two individuals, one who had just entered puberty, another one in puberty. And what we find is that tragedy has taken one, and tragedy is allowing one to survive, but has the wounds to show that something went on. Everything that has gone on, everything that has been said from the time that this has happened to right now. At the funeral, I've heard that, of course, there's so much being said about me, especially, that I'm venomous. They're saying that I'm a demagogue, that I'm a troublemaker, that I come just to cause disruption. The only venom that I have seen is the venom that took a child's life. The only venom that I've seen is the one that I sat and I spoke with a child who is 13 years old, who has several stab wounds over his body. Specifically, 2 of them are in his back. I've read the so-called stabbing update. This update was more or less a comic book by all saints, because you don't go into an update about a situation and then begin to talk about programming. You lost a child in this city. But what I'm finding is that as I've met with city officials, it was my hope that we would find something productive out of it, and I felt that it was a good conversation. But at the same time, I guess they have made some statements, and I have to say this, that in the meeting, I found that no longer are the deceased, DeAndre Felton, being called a victim, but the so-called person of interest is now the victim. And they are no longer the victims, but the perpetrators. There are inconsistencies with consistencies. I have personally been walked through the events. This is by all means, and I say this with great emphasis, that this is, to a great point, another Trayvon incident. Do I want this? I am not here for this. But this is what it is. You have a kid who is slain, but what makes this different is the fact that there is a voice that survived, who was supposed to die. With the cuts there's a slicing on his neck. There are stabs in his side, in his abdomen. And when you hear his story, when you hear the events that took place, you will find that this is not a typical self-defense act. The Meriden Police Department should not have issued a statement of any sort until they got the other side. DeAndre's dead. He can't talk. But this 13-year-old is talking. He's not stuttering, and he's not changing his story. They should have been more persistent, but I'm grateful to the mother who made sure that she protected her son, because, again, it has to be the black boys. If the toxicology report comes back and they had smoked weed, weed is becoming readily available for medical situations, which says if it is weed, it does not make you aggressive. I know many individuals who are on things that are far worse. They're on substances such as crack, heroin, but they've never committed a violent crime. These young boys do not have a history of violence. There was a fight in school with her son. She went to the school administrators talking about it. They did not address it, and a fight occurred. There's no record in the police department with these children being violent. And I was at City Hall. This is what really touched me because, you know, I was saying we need to find something. After I left the meeting with city officials, I went to City Hall to get a birth certificate for my child who was born in this city. While I'm standing in the city clerk's office, there's conversation with a man who's standing on the side behind the counter. He's reading the article that was written by the Record Journal and then turns around and says, so a man does not have a right to protect himself. Of course, we all must protect ourselves. There's a such thing as self-defense and self-preservation. This man came out with a monstrous kind of intent, because when you hear the story, why there are 2 stab wounds in his back, you will find that he was no longer in threat if that was the case. This man must be brought to justice. They will not give a description of a person of interest. It doesn't matter to me if he's black. It doesn't matter if he's Hispanic. It doesn't matter if he's white. He needs to come to justice. Stop hiding him. The 13-year-old has no protection. This man is still there. And when he gives his account of what took place, you're going to find, as I give it to the Felton family, you're going to find that they were not the aggressors, but there were some racial slurs that came from this individual, which makes it racially motivated when you hear the story. I'm asking that all people will not rush to judgment in saying that the black boys were the cause. Because whoever this man is, he came to them. They did not go to him. There is a survivor. Remember that. Right now, I'm going to ask that the Felton family would step forward.
Like we've been saying, we raised our boys, all 3 of them, all 4, I'm sorry to say, we raised them with respect of other people, and our boy isn't a person that is a violent kid at all. Everybody loves him. On this tragedy here, one boy is injured and one's dead, which is our son. And what we're trying to gather, it's which is crazy that they're, trying to say, like they are the aggressor. It's very hard to believe, that our boy and his friend were the aggressors on that. I can't see that. They're good boys. And this person that's out here, he shouldn't be. And we want the proper justice of this. Because this is it's not right. We lost our son. It's not right. We need justice.
This is Alexis Jones, right? This is Alexis Jones. This is the mother of the 13-year-old who has survived the attack. Just wanted to speak for a moment.
First, I would like to give my condolences to the Felton family.
Step up to the mic so they can.
For the loss of their son. It should have been mine. But God spared his life. He saved him. It saddens me. It this man still out here on the streets. My son is sitting home trying to recover and get to a normal life. He's only 13 years old. And Giandra's 15. He can't speak. My son can. And once he does, it will show everyone the truth. These kids are not violent kids. I've met DeAndre a couple of times. A few times they've went to DeAndre's basketball practice. We need justice for our children. We need justice for our children.
What has your son told you about what happened?
I don't have no comments on that. But once he does speak, everyone will know the real truth and what happened.
So has your son been questioned by the police at all, the local authorities?
And he's not. But once he do make his statement, all the movies will be put to rest and this man will be brought to justice.
Ms. Jones, can you tell me about the injuries to your child? Can you describe where his injuries are, please?
My son has 2 stab wounds in his back. One on his side. And then he has a slice on his neck. And in the middle of his, in between his 2 fingers. Those are, and he has one in his stomach as well.
Stabbed in the back and the front.
And in the stomach. Those do not sound like wounds from a man who's trying to defend himself. This is a monster. This is a monster after children. And he needs to be brought to justice.
We have just heard about some possible racial slurs. What was said?
I have no comment to that either. Once he's able, my son is able, he will make his official statement.
Alexis, are you aware that there's video surveillance of the attack?
Let me answer that. There is no actual, and this is something that is being stretched so far. There is no video surveillance of the attack. There is none. Absolutely, positively false. There is no surveillance of the attack. And I'm saying this with clear understanding from our meeting that there is no video surveillance.
You're meeting with who?
With the city officials, with the police department, there is no video surveillance. And that's been put out there, and I believe that was something to more or less kind of distract what's going on. And so there is none. It's too dark. The only thing that I would presume they have is from the medical center. The street is too dark, number one, and anything that someone had on the street, it's too dark. Go by there at night, as some of you were when you were reporting it when it first happened. The street lights are out. They go out. Ask the neighbors. I did. I personally went out and canvassed the area, and the house that is in the direct vicinity said that this light shimmers on and off, goes off, and been off for almost a whole year, but it'll come back on every now and then. It'll come on sometimes within 15 minutes, but it's not the auto shut off to allow them to regenerate. So there is no video surveillance of these kids being gruesomely mutilated and killed. There is none.
Pastor, what would the motivation be, though, of a police department not to tell truth on a police report?
I'm trying to be, I want to be a friend to the police department, and especially since the captain who's leading this is a former high school mate. I didn't know until I got there. So, of course, we know each other, and so I don't want to say anything other than that there's inconsistencies. But I will say this. I don't know if there's a direct motive. I have no clue. All I know is that this is not actual nor factual. So there's no video surveillance tapes that have actually captured this. Matter of fact, the witnesses who were their friends, I doubt highly if they've even talked to all of them and if they were actual stories. Here's the thing I will give you. They make it seem that these boys ran away from the group. It's interesting that at certain points they kept meeting up with the group.
What was the initial interaction between the man and the boys, though? People said that they went up and
They didn't, no one saw it. The only ones who saw it, the only ones who know, one is 6 feet in the ground in a cemetery up the road. The other one is the one who did not call the police. They did locate him 22 hours later. But he did not call the police. He did not call 911. He did not say that I pulled out a knife and I stabbed children. He didn't say this. Someone else called 911. Kids ran to the emergency room. Where did he go? Why didn't he go? I would have gone to the police department to say someone just attacked me. He did not do this. He didn't call them. They found him. If you are innocent, you show up. I would have. Because I know what is right. That I pulled out my knife. And they said that the man was visibly shaken when they told him that a person had died. Who wouldn't be if you didn't call the police after the incident? And knowing that murder charges can be filed. Tell me that I killed a man and I'm shaking. But they're not asking this. Immediately they have called the children the perpetrators.
Is Deshaun saying that the guy came up to them? Or
when Deshaun speaks, and I'm thankful again that his mother unknowingly protected him, because this is the thing that I have to say to you. If you don't charge the one who committed the murder, but you say that these two have committed this incident and they were the aggressors, you've got to arrest somebody.
Where are you getting the information, though? Because a few minutes ago we had heard that this man had approached the boys. Where is that information coming from?
Where's it coming from? There was 3 individuals who were there. 3 individuals. DeAndre Felton, her 13-year-old son, and this person of interest. No one else was there. No one in the neighborhood heard this man yelling, saying, help. There's nothing there.
Mr. Felton, I'm sorry, Pastor, you've said this, but if you're comfortable with this, and my apologies, can you talk about the wounds to your son? The pastor has said it, although I think maybe the media needs to hear about what you saw. I know that might be painful, but not that I don't believe you, Pastor, but where was your son stabbed? What did you see?
What did the medical side say?
Actually, we weren't able to really see our son because the state took over, and so we weren't able to see him. But what the doctor explained to us that he had an injury that, out of all his years in practice, seemed like it was like a bigger knife than what the police are saying,
And that injury was in the back?
The injury was in the back.
His injury, the knife went in one end, came out the other end, if I'm correct. Is that what I was told? It broke 4 of the boys' ribs. They didn't have that in the report. They didn't have that in their update. This was more tragic than what anybody's hearing about. It was tragic. It was brutal. This guy was not trying to get... You have to see the 13-year-old. Looking at DeAndre, he wasn't a big kid. You see the pictures of him in his football uniform. Pads make me look like I'm a giant. He wasn't a big kid. The weight, the size, the muscle wasn't there where you would find this guy being in immediate danger. Now, was it a situation? Yes. Does he have a right? Yes. But not enough to stab a kid and break 4 ribs and bring it from one side of his body to the other end of his body. And then with another one, I don't want to say what the story is for Deshaun, but I'll say this. He got him twice in the back. Twice in the back. And when he tells why those 2 were there and how he got to him in the back, it would tell you the only reason why he actually even had to try and do something was because his friend hunched over and screamed. screamed.
Please tell us they're sending the report to the state's attorney's office. Your thoughts on that, or would you like to see other involvement?
My thoughts are going to be, of course, I'm not going to, keep it in the hands of the Meriden Police Department. My confidence is not there that they're going to do, a creditable job now, because they issued a statement without the lone survivor of this tragic event. They didn't get it. I don't care how long it takes. We can't issue anything until. What I was told was that there was an agreement between the families that they would not issue the statement until after the funeral. How do you still have a statement ready already when her son was still in the hospital? You hadn't spoke to him, but you had already come to a conclusion and say, we held back because we wanted to respect the deceased. You have disrespected the deceased and the living if you didn't talk to her child. And yes, she did not allow them to talk to him. I'm grateful she didn't. She has protected her son, because now the tables have turned and there's possible cause, since they were the aggressors, to look at her 13-year-old son and bring charges against him on a botched attempt to commit a criminal activity.
Just to be clear, you had mentioned the racial slurs were made and that
They
this
were.
man was the aggressor. How do you know that? Was that through conversations? Did you have the conversation with Deshaun?
Yes, I have.
That's what he told you.
More than once.
That's what he told you.
Because, see, here's the thing. I didn't ask to be brought into this. They're thinking I wanted this. I don't. I was called by the Felton family. I was told that we need you. I'm not a stranger to this city. I'm probably one of the most vocal activists that have ever walked the streets of this city. That's who I am. But when they called me, I didn't know the depth of the situation, but I see why I'm here now. This city is definitely blotching and destroying a tragedy. This man should be brought to justice, shouldn't be walking around the street right now. So, but I want to thank you all, and definitely more will come. You'll find that there's a lot more that will be spoken of. You will hear of the events that occurred on that night by the only lone survivor besides the perpetrator, not the victim. The perpetrator. He will tell you how he was attacked. When her 13-year-old speaks, he will tell you what happened. These are actual events that have not changed in the 7 times I've pretty much asked him. He's not changing the story. He's standing. So thank you all, and we appreciate it, and may God bless you. I will say this, that it was not, there's a possibility, as I say.
When can we expect
Actually, what we're doing is and this is the last, and I will tell you this, that we have been in contact with the attorneys for Trayvon Martin's mother. And so in speaking with them, they're actually giving some great advice right now on how to handle this, what we need to do. So it's probably the best, all right? God bless you.
DeAndre's family attorney?
Yes.